Live. So, Hans, I was reading in the news just in the last 24 hours, more and more stories of police quitting their jobs. And of course, this is linked to the mass public shaming of police. I'm talking about in America, of course, but the mass public shaming of police these days. And I think it's something like 60% of Americans are now supporting Black Lives Matter, which, as a stand for people of color being treated fairly and justly and equally, is a great thing, to the extent that it adopts the very shaming perspective of the Black Lives Matter movement, which has a reputation for marching through the streets and saying, kill cops and stuff like this. It's no wonder to me. It's no wonder police are quitting. Why would men continue to sacrifice if they're not honored for their sacrifice? If their people stop honoring them for the sacrifices, why would they continue to sacrifice? And some will do it as a matter of their own personal honor. They'll continue. And I'm sure there's circles where they are honored, amongst other police, amongst their families. And that might be enough for some, but this is related to me to fathers in the world stopping sacrificing. Whether that's not getting married in the first place, whether that's getting divorced and not continuing the sacrifice of marriage and being present in the home. In many ways, marriage and these things are a sacrifice that men make. But we live in a world now where more and more, that people are raging against, quote unquote, the patriarchy.
I like that you say marriage is a sacrifice for many men, because I think it is in many ways.
Yes.
Even if I'm moving in that area, For example, also I'm going to add to it the fact that a lot of men would like to see more women, and they sacrifice being with one woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fact of nature, and I'm generalizing, but men want more that diversity than women want it.
Yes.
And so it's a sacrifice. And at least if women could honor their men for making that sacrifice, it would make it a lot easier for them.
Yes.
It would make it a lot easier to make the sacrifice.
Well, now what you have is more of a should.
Yes.
A judgment of men and fathers, who they're not being and who they should be. Mm-hmm. And you can't judge someone into a path of honor. Mm. I read a post from a guy in a Facebook group the other day who had real judgments about his father, and I was asking him, what is it that he wants from his father? What is it that, what's the conflict with his father? And he said he wants his father to face his issues and heal himself, basically. But the methodology is judge his father, for not doing it, and judge him until he does it. And that's judgment is no invitation. Judgment is no call to honor.
It's interesting because, we do the work of we do honor your father, okay? And I see guys in our groups, and I think it would be great if you were there, And their reasoning, I even talk with them. The reasoning is no, because I'm still angry, or he doesn't deserve it,
Yes.
And I'm thinking, well, that's the very reason why you should do it, because it's not like the reasoning is not, does someone deserve it, and then we honor them. It's honor first always, not just for that person, but for yourself, to not have those judgments, to not be the prison of those judgments, to not feel that anger and all of that,
Well, it's being a leader. It's being, it's really, to me, it's like shifting from boy to man. It's saying that, can we say, okay, Dad, thank you. You got me this far. I'll take it from here, and I'll lead. I'll lead my life. I'm not going to blame you for where I'm at or where I'm not at. and I'm going to lead with honor. So it's a leadership principle.
That's almost judging someone into you have to honor your father. What I'm saying is the benefits for you when you honor are instant for yourself. So you don't have to do it for them. There doesn't have to be a reason to honor them. They don't have to deserve it. It really is a thing you do for yourself.
Yes.
And that's interesting because, like, I'm thinking when you present, for example, police, and you say, or you say the fathers they check out because they don't feel honored anymore, and we should honor them. I can hear people thinking, because I have these conversations. Yeah, but they're the ones who doing it first, and so there's a causal.
They're the ones who are
checking out first, or they're the one
right.
not doing their job,
right.
and so they don't deserve to be honored. As
right.
if the honoring is a consequence of that, and.
Well, just to honor those people who are not honoring their fathers, they do have valid needs,
yes.
unmet needs and desires, and boundaries have been crossed, and it is, I think, worth honoring that first.
Yes.
And their anger, their whatever it is, because there's a stand that their body, their heart is calling them to make, to have them stand up for themselves, and so on. But I think that kind of does come first before the honoring, oftentimes.
Right.
And so if they're not ready to do it, what they can start with is honoring their own anger, their own judgment, essentially.
Yes.
So, so we're getting into talking about the honor work. Yesterday we had a
fantastic call.
Yes, a group of men gathered together to honor their fathers. It was beautiful.
The great Skye and Hans, my father. Go back yesterday. Watch it.
Is that you talking to your father?
Yes.
Yeah, who doesn't speak English?
De grote Skye and Hans. Wij werk geleverd gisteren met een groep mannen. En ook in de Facebook Live.
You want him to watch the Facebook Live, which is also in English. Okay.
I was thinking yesterday. Yesterday.
Yes. We'll talk about intelligence on a future Facebook Live. Hans Comyn.
Don't worry about it. I'm honoring my father. Carry on, Michael Skye.
I just don't understand why you need to put your nose in the camera when you do that.
Because my father is the one.
Is that how you guys talk in Belgium? Guys get together and they both put their noses in the air and get really close to each other. And
I even kiss my father. Do you guys kiss each other?
No.
Yeah, I kiss my father.
That's, okay. Is it like an Eskimo kiss or whatever with the nose? Like, you come in with the nose.
That we used to do. Oh no, it was this before we went to sleep. Yeah, we gave a kiss and we...
Kiss on the cheek?
No, we kissed.
Tongue.
Don't get excited. And we rubbed cheeks.
You rub cheeks?
We rub cheeks. Like, go like this. Like animals do, I guess.
Huh. Interesting, very interesting. So,
no judgments.
Yes,
I don't feel it.
Yes. So, there's... I'm not suggesting that men who check out of fatherhood are good or right when they do so just because they're not being honored. To me, I think it's worth showing up and being a father, fully committed, even if you're not honored.
Yes.
However, it does explain to me, it's a huge factor in why police are quitting, fathers are quitting, young men are not accepting more responsibility in life, because there's less honor for a man's sacrifice in society, and there's even more judgment for men in society. And then there's like judging him into other roles. oh, he should be doing this other role that has traditionally not been a masculine role. And it's of course it's not working. I mean, to me, I do the honor work. It's like obvious why it doesn't work. But now that we're on the topic of fathers, yesterday we said we would talk about what our fathers had to deal with.
Yeah, I want to say something first. As it is worth for a man to show up anyway, despite the fact that he's not being honored. For other people, it's worth to honor your father anyway, despite the fact that, for example, he didn't show up.
Yeah, it could be a call to honor. Like, who I am is the one who honors my father, my parents, in the face of anything. Like, I do it because that's who I am. Because I'm a man of honor, not to get something from them or not, it could be for no reason other than this is who I am. And that's a great reason.
Yes. What our fathers had to endure. Mine was just all joy with his son.
Nothing but joy.
An unbroken boulevard of green lights. I was a terrible kid.
Let me tell you, having lived with you for 3 months now, I weep for your father and what he had to endure. I weep for him. At night, I cry myself to sleep. And then I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm still crying.
The only thing good about this is that it's in English, that he doesn't understand you. No, the first year, I did have to endure. I was thinking about this, thinking of stories. And the first year of my life, my parents never slept, had a good night's sleep, because I was always crying.
Oh, I thought you were snoring.
No. I woke him up. I was already a night person, I guess. And then, it's just crazy. My sister was born 13 months later, my parents were still tired. And in the hospital, or I don't know what they call it in English, where the children are born. Anyway, the nurse said to my father, let's hope that the new baby doesn't wake up the little boy of 1 year old, And my father looked like this. It's going to be the other way around, okay?
Meaning what?
I was going to wake up the new baby, my sister.
Right.
They tell me also this story. They bought a new, they call it a park, which is like how do you call it for children? Like it's like a mini jail, practically.
Oh yeah, a crib.
A crib.
Uh-huh.
Where you can stand in.
Yes.
You can hold it in,
Yes.
And they bought a new crib, and I spent not 1 minute in it. Because as soon as they put me in it, I would cry until they put me out, and I was trying to escape it. I never was in it.
Yes.
They had to wait till my little sister a year later. So I was just, You
never wanted to be in jail.
I never wanted to be in jail.
Well, that explains why I never got married.
I never made that sacrifice. But yeah, I was a rebel back then. Now I'm not anymore. But I can imagine.
Well,
I had to enjoy
why would an infant want to be separated from his mother? Separated from the womb, the heart, the breasts, the love, it's to me it's a very unnatural thing. If you go to most indigenous societies, the infant children for the first 2 years of life are almost always strapped to a female. A mother, an aunt, a grandmother, a neighbor, on their back or on their belly. And this is part of how the infant's nervous system and emotions are regulated, because the two nervous systems work together, And to be away from that heartbeat. I mean, think the first 9 months of your life, the heartbeat of your mother, the warmth of your mother, all of this, and then all of a sudden, you're not only are you outside of the mother, you're in this jail, and you can't go to her. Of course, you're crying.
I think we have one picture of me in there, really trying to get out.
But in the West, we have this. It's the domination starts early.
Yes.
Oh, you're wrong for crying. Stay in there until you stop crying.
I thought we were going to talk about what our fathers had to endure. Now I find all kinds of justifications. You know, hey,
Yeah, you put me in here, motherfucker.
hey.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, it's still, you know, what our parents have to endure raising us in a very unnatural environment. You know, as, you know, this nuclear concept of nuclear family,
yes,
where I don't know how it was in Belgium. You know, when I was in Germany, my dear friend Monica, her parents lived upstairs, and their lives were very commingled. It was much less kind of physical space as we have in the States. In the States, we have this idea of physical space. Like, right now, you're actually in my personal space.
no, you're in mine.
But we have to be on the camera here, so I'll tolerate the smell.
Tolerate nothing.
Yes. So, so we have big personal space in the U.S., but also space of like our property. You know, the houses can't be too close together. Everything, like, we have this sense we need more space. But where am I going with this? Oh, that parents are expected to raise a healthy child inside of very, what I would say are historically abnormal
Yes.
human environments. And so I think they have to deal with a lot more, you know, that we have this saying in English and in America, the terrible twos. I don't know if you have it in Europe. And also we expect 2-year-olds and teenagers to be rioting, rebellious, bad behaving, all of this. But in many indigenous cultures, healthy indigenous cultures that are not fucked up by, you know, the modern way, you don't have that. You know, in fact, you go to Mexico and here in Brazil, it may be changing. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised, but they party together across generations.
It's like a good sign of that is like you go in Europe and you're in the street or you're wherever, you know, public space or in train, whatever, and you hear children, rah, rah, you know, and there are places in the world where you don't hear that at all. Like, children don't do that. You know, and it's a great sign of, like, crying children is a great sign. I think that, you know, something is off in the way in the context in which children are raised.
Yeah, we have this sense that if the children's crying, maybe it needs to be beat more, dominated more, trained more, or something like this, you know. But that's more of that same thing that's fucking up the child in the first place. The child is just a child. It's just it's biologically, it's perfect.
Yes.
It comes out of the womb with certain expectations based on, you know, millions of years of...
its reaction is a symptom of something wrong at that stage.
Yes.
You know, it's not a symptom of that child is wrong.
Yes. And, but, you know, we think that, oh, well, if you get into this battle for authority with our children and our infants, you know, well, I'm going to teach it a lesson. I'll just let it cry until it stops crying, you know, like, instead of, I remember being with my beautiful niece, Ashley, and she was a very young mother, and she had her newborn at home, and she was crying, and I was there visiting her, and she's like, Uncle Mike, you know, what should I do? You know, she was practically crying herself, because the parenting advice that she'd been given is like, let it cry itself to sleep. That's what her mother did. You know, close the door, the baby will eventually stop crying, right?
Which is true.
When it realizes no one's coming. You know, imagine the infant has to adjust that, like, no one is going to be there for it to answer the call, to meet its needs. Like, no one's coming. Imagine that's the training that the infant gets. It's heartbreaking, man. And she was heartbroken. And I was like, Ashley, like, as a human mother, you're perfect. What is your heart telling you to do? What is, you know, forget all these people who have these different ideas. And your baby's perfect. And she just went to her child immediately. I was like, yes, you know, go to your poor child, you know. We want to train the child because the child's interrupting our go to sleep early. It's going to wake me up during the night, and I have to go to work in the morning. And it's like, of all this Western way of life, we need to train the child so that we can go be okay tomorrow. You know. Meanwhile, training this poor child that no one's coming. So we're way off topic from what we
went
planned.
From honoring our fathers to defending our moms.
And honoring infants, actually.
Honoring infants. Well, we honor everyone, so.
But do we want to get back to this topic of what our fathers had to face? I know my father had to face a lot with me.
Still has to.
I was on my family's at a reunion right now with my dad. My dad's got Parkinson's, and I get on there and my dad's. I bought him an iPad so that he can make video calls with his family, and he doesn't really know how to use it, So it comes on and it's pointed at his forehead, and I immediately I'm like, "What's that glare? What's that glare?" It's just like, "Oh, Dad, is that your forehead?" And he's an old man, to care for him, take care of him, and someone in the background was like, "Oh, here it started already," But it started with my father, like he gave me shit, and it continues, and for us that's love. But my father's had to endure no shortage of love in that style from me. But I was definitely a very rebellious child.
Well, you said yesterday on the call, which was great. Maybe you said it on the Facebook Live too, but what he had to endure was like his children, leaving the religion which he like really feels close to,
Yes.
He had to basically see his children decide that they will go to hell and not be with him in heaven. Imagine that. That's and then still show up, still try to get your children in heaven.
Yeah. And try to find the balance between honoring them and their happiness, their way of life, their choices, and also like honoring what you feel is true and what you feel really be best for them. It's that leadership or chief challenge, right? How do you navigate that? And I know my father's wept a lot over that throughout the years.
Maybe you announce part 2.
Tomorrow we're getting on again the part 2 of the honor letter webinar. We're having a great conversation about honoring fathers.
Oh, it's great.
The way to do it.
The way you can honor your father, thinking about the sacrifice, thinking about who would you not have if he wasn't here. Think about ask him to tell stories. I think it's great,
Honoring your father in the form of a letter that he can treasure. That can really touch his heart in a way that he seldom has someone touch his heart. So, part 2 is tomorrow. That's Thursday. And you can search Facebook for Honoring Fathers with Michael Skye. Join the Facebook group. Join part 2. I'm going to upload the video of yesterday's call.
Oh.
And yes, we welcome
12 Eastern time. That's 9 a.m. California, 6 p.m. in Madrid, Brussels time.
Yes. Yeah, the power of honor it's incredible. If there's a father in your life, your feeling is he's not stepping up. A man in your life, he's not stepping up. He could be greater. He could be this. If you turn your approach from judgment to honoring, wow, your ability to affect him is incredible.
So instead of saying he doesn't deserve for me to honor because he didn't do it right, there's a desire there. You wanted him to show up differently. The greatest way is not to judge him for it, but to honor him for it. Go with honor.
Well, maybe not honor him for that.
Yes,
but
to honor him.
Yes.
And that's the greatest tool you have to make magic happen. And if you wanted that have people show up in a different way.
Yes, it's a human principle. You know, if you want someone to listen to you, to take your advice, to maybe change their ways or whatever it is that you'd like to have them learn or do differently.
Always.
They first have to feel that you hold them in your heart, that you really care, that you see them, that you
hear
see what they're facing and standing for, you know, and that's the honor work. So
it's the advanced form of empathy. It's not just willing to understand the other, but walk their shoes, see what they've been facing. And it's a superpower. So
yes,
come out tomorrow, join the group, and then join the call tomorrow.
Yes, empathy is a part of it. Honor is the next step. Join us.
See you tomorrow.